Oh, hey folks, what's up? How's it going? Pickering Fitness here, HSV2 down here. Bit of a longer video. Want to talk today about just honestly the 5 things. That's 10, this is 5. Put this hand away. The 5 things that I did to either like break out of the herpes matrix, or 5 things that I did post-diagnosis to make my life not as unbearable. And it's gonna be longer, it's not gonna be 2 minutes. So if you have the time, watch it. This is probably gonna be more beneficial and succinct, if that's even a word, than my other videos in terms of like giving you a concrete game plan going forward. So, first things first, I did not get diagnosed and then just automatically think my life was sunshine and rainbows. I got diagnosed, my life was over. I'm gonna be single, forever, alone, stigmatized. I'm disgusting, a dirty slut who slept around, who shouldn't have made a mistake. Is any of that true now? No, I don't think so. But anyways, getting back on track here. Oh, I'm getting my pants all dirty? Oh, my goodness. Kids these days. I'm trying to look cute, and I'm over here getting all these melted snow all over my Nike Tech joggers. Anyways, that's not part of the diagnosis story. But let's get back on track with the herpely-derpelies. Number 1, yeah, felt terrible. You get the story, just like how you guys feel. I didn't just get the herpely-derpelies and then think I was automatically superhero. No. Which means there is hope for all of you to get to where I am if you felt the way I felt, which is me feeling the way you feel right now. My words don't make a lot of sense when I have more than 2 minutes to spare. Number 1, first thing, education. So, when I got diagnosed, I was like, my life is over, but I know nothing about herpely-derpelies. Apparently cold sores are herpes. Apparently this is genital herpes. Why is there a difference? Scooby-Dooby-Doo. So I went online and I started looking at like, what is herpes? How is it transmitted? What is the different types of herpes? You know, really going down the whole herpes education rabbit hole, because none of us had the education about herpes before we got it. And I wanted to not only make myself feel more like at ease with my knowledge and understanding, so I could, you know, think, am I going to die? Oh, I'm not going to die. Oh, people get cold sores. That's also herpes, but like people are not dying from that physically. So am I going to die? No one's going to die. Live your life. And then also from the standpoint of like being able to educate future partners about it, because if your partner is like, if I give you oral sex with HSV2, am I going to get it? Like, that was a question I had. So kind of like going through a list of like all these different questions, like how is herpes transmitted? You know, can I pass HSV2 to someone's mouth if they give me oral sex? Rarely going to happen. Don't worry about that. But obviously, you know, the answer isn't 0%. And just every little thing like that, so I could be more educated for myself and for other people. And in addition to the whole like educational thing, every website has conflicting information. Some people say this, some people don't say this. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. There's all sorts of conflicting information. I think learn to judge what site is a good site. You know, like I would probably trust the CDC or a medical website more than like some article on a like healthcare service website that's like Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Do you need antivirals? Probably to push our agenda. You know, critically think about everything, question everything, but learn to develop the ability to find good sources. And if you have conflicting information, think about it and don't ever come to a single conclusion. I think it's smarter to be unsure of things than it is to be absolutely certain about certain things. So that's basically what I did. If you want other sources I used, Ella Dawson's TED Talk, she helped me out a lot in terms of support, even though we went our separate ways in terms of, there's a little bit of drama there, but we're not going to talk about it. Anyways, Alexandra Herbushka, Life with Herpes. I also was big into her when I got diagnosed because she was like the go-to source for herpes. Laureen HD, shout out to her. These were all people on YouTube that I Googled because I didn't really have like a social media thing to go into. I just kind of went on YouTube because I'm always on YouTube and typed like herpely-derpelies. Am I going to die? And then I also remember this. I was on like Reddit and I think I like stumbled upon like a Reddit, I have herpes, ask me anything. Did that spur my own ask me anything? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know. But like I went through this entire guy who had herpes for like 10 years or something. I don't know how long it was. It doesn't even matter. But he did like an AMA and I read through the entire thing and it was like, you know, am I gonna die again? How did it pass? All the different questions so I could get like all these different questions that I had answered, which I can hopefully do for you guys. And then I also was just like trying to find answers to specific questions too, even ones that didn't even apply to me, like is genital HSV1 passed to someone else's genitals? And like, honestly, there's a lot of information I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows, because for lack of a better word or term or whatever we're going to use in the English language, nobody gives a fudge about herpes knowledge, because doctors don't think it's a big deal. Physically. Emotionally, yes. But nobody seems to care about our mental health, because if we cared about our mental health, we wouldn't have been put in solitary confinement for when you go to jail. They put you in solitary confinement if you're being a bad boy. In the lockdown, we were put in solitary confinement for our own health, our physical health. But anyways, let's get back on track. Number 2 is stay social. So, as a guy, I actually never stopped dating because of my diagnosis. I went on a date mid-outbreak 1 month after I got diagnosed. And I think this not only helped me in terms of like allowing me to stay social, so I'm not like withdrawing from my social skills or losing those, but it also kind of tricked my mind into thinking that like, you're still dating. This is not going to affect your dating life. And I think maybe it's different for guys and for girls, because I approach it from the perspective of like, I will see if a woman ever wants to sleep with me, regardless of my herpes status, before I feel pressured. Versus maybe women are like, a guy is automatically going to want to like pressure me into sex, so I can't date, because if it gets there, it's going to be an awkward conversation. So for me, it was like, let's go on a date with some girls and see if they like me enough to even get to that point. And if it gets to that point, I will have to disclose. I'll be super scared, but I'll have to disclose. So I went on I think I met 3 people until I, had success. But first person, they're my friend. Second person, it never went that far because they still had stuff with their ex. These are all just general situations when it comes to dating. You can go on a date, and if you're deathly afraid of having to disclose, the likelihood of you actually getting to a point of disclosure with most people you go on a date with is hardly very high. So that's why I say dating is not harder because of herpes per se. Dating is hard in general, and finding somebody you want to disclose to is harder than having them accept you eventually. As long as you're not going on dates with people who are clearly unintelligent, ignorant, and judgmental. But I hope that you guys can be a good judge of character, unless that's your type, in which case I don't kink shame. Anyways. Yeah, so number 1 was education. Number 2 was staying social and dating and stuff. And then eventually I was able to meet someone who was into me. My first disclosure was scary. Oh no, I have the virus that causes herpes. I take medication to make myself safer. Let me know if you have any questions. Showed that to her. She was kind of like, oh my God, what is this? Oh, herpely derpelies. And then a week later, after we went through the facts, she was like, all right, this seems like it seems like you have a good understanding. And then, engaged in activities, nothing bad happened. And I'm like, hey, why is there such a big deal about the herpely derpelies if my life didn't change that much? Long story short, she ends up getting a cold sore the next week. Oh, why do you have a cold sore? I just get it when I'm sick. Bro, I worked up the courage to disclose my genital herpes, and you already have HSV1 orally? You didn't even tell me? Society's messed up. Which leads into our third point, which is think critically about the stigma. Now, I had already basically questioned everything in my entire life. Maybe that's why my clinical depression is so bad. But I question everything. Why do we do what we do? Why are things the way they are? Why are the people that are telling us things also contradicting themselves? Scooby-Dooby-Doo, blah, 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 blah. And for me, I think one of the main points was cold sores are herpes. Cold sores are looked at differently. They're both HSV. I have HSV, but it's down here. But I am somehow the boogeyman to society and should be locked away in a chamber somewhere and never even fed any water or bread because I need to starve to death because I have HSV too. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So for me, I think I was always in the mood of thinking about things. And I think that if you are someone who's not ever able to critically think, or at least wonder about if you have to feel this way, because if you look at it, HSV, your HSV diagnosis and status is an objective reality. It is what it is. Herpes being dirty is not a fact. There's no label. There's no you don't go to the store to buy HSV2 and it's HSV2 features dirty, viral infection, blisters on your blah, 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 genitalia. Like, no, somebody said that it's dirty, so now it's somehow dirty. But if somebody says something, it doesn't automatically make it true, unless you can prove that it's true. But how do you prove an opinion of something? I don't know. In society, if you can just approve anything. I mean, I'm offended if you don't agree with my opinion. Anyways, so that was one of the main things. And then kind of like going over the fact that like the symptoms and like the way I feel on a daily basis without an outbreak, they were kind of not as severe as I guess we're made out to believe, and whether it's like high school health class or whether it's the media, like Family Guy saying it's passed through blood. Like there's a whole bunch of misinformation. And if you buy into that, you're still part of the problem regardless of if you have herpes or not. So honestly, like if you have herpes and you still shame yourself long term and you still stigmatize yourself, my opinion is that you're probably never going to get over it unless you really want to and change your ways. Because I don't know who said it, Einstein or Abraham Lincoln or Adolf, whatever his name was. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So if you continuously, day in, day out, believe the same things about yourself and your herpes status, expecting yourself to get better, it's not going to happen. You kind of have to change your own beliefs about yourself and then develop enough self-worth that no one else's opinion of you can change how you feel about yourself. So, critically think. Understand that the media controls most things. They control our information. They control the information we can't have access to. They control the laws and stuff. You know, how come the psychedelics that they made illegal because it made people not want to go to war are now being used by the government as a tool to help the people who went to war with their PTSD, but yet it was illegal at one point and now it's not illegal, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And consider that everything that is happening in the world may or may not be for your best interest. And it's important to use our own brains, because guess what? We do have control over that. We don't have control over, the things around us, but we have control over ourselves. And if you want to have self-worth, it's up to you. Number 4, don't let yourself go. So, ladies, gentlemen, I still went to the gym. Whether it was for stress, whether it was for my body image, whether it was for a distraction. Do not let your herpes diagnosis derail you and turn you into someone that people wouldn't want to date if you didn't have herpes. To be totally blunt, if you get herpes and you stop exercising, or you turn to food, or you become unhealthy and overweight and out of shape and less desirable physically, maybe that's going to play a factor too. If you stop socializing, you lock yourself in your room for like 20 years, you don't have any more friends, like you don't reach out or look for support, that's going to be a deal breaker in terms of like potentially someone finding you attractive or you having social skills to even date. So do not long term. It's okay. I spent like literally 3 or 4 months like dying. I was like, my life is over physically, emotionally. I'm having 75 million outbreaks. My throat hurts. I had all of these different health concerns for like 2 or 3 months. I had to solve each of them individually. And then I can get my stress down to the point where I wasn't just totally freaking out. So long term, don't let your herpes status derail you. If you can, use it as a catalyst for positive change. So maybe you need to make some more money if you're a guy, because money rules everything. Maybe you want to use this as like, I want to go to the gym now. Not only because I want to be a bad biatch and look more attractive, or because maybe improving my physical health will help my immune system have less outbreaks. These are all different things, but it's all about the spin that you're going to put on your diagnosis. So don't let yourself go. It's okay for a little bit. Live your best life. Achieve greatness. Use this as a catalyst for positive change as opposed to a derailment. That's what I think I did, and that's what I think you guys should do. Which leads to number 5, which is Stoicism. What's Stoicism, bro? That sounds like a big word. Basically, it's a philosophy, or it's like a set of virtues or values that you can apply to your life regardless of what happened. I'm not going to go too in depth. If you want to read a book, read The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, or look up Seneca or Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus or any of the Stoic philosophers. If you don't want to read, that's okay too. Just, I don't know, read the first book, Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday. That'll help you out. But it's basically, there's a list of different principles. I'm not going to go in depth on the principles, but I'll give you basics on the ones that helped me. So one of them is basically like you have control over how you react to things and how you are going to, deal with things as opposed to having control over external events. So I can't unget herpes. Dr. Sebi, bro. Try Dr. Sebi. I can't trustfully get rid of my herpes. But I can either, use this as a derailment or a positive thing. I'm going to use it as a positive thing if I can. I can't, control someone rejecting me, but I could control me being affected by rejection or me being affected by their judgment or words. So the less we focus on things out of our control because we can't change that, the better we're going to be, and the more we can put our effort and time into things we can control. Because we all have a certain amount of, energy and time. Don't put it in places that are not going to serve you. Put it in places that are going to serve you. So the next one is basically imagining the worst possible scenario and then kind of processing the emotions from there. So what if I, get rejected every time I disclose? If I imagine my life will be totally over. But will my life be totally over? No, I'm not going to die. My life won't be over. And maybe it'll be a tool to allow me to reframe, why is everyone rejecting me? Is it my disclosure technique? Is it my own, physical, whatever I'm giving off? Is it other reasons? Is it the people I'm disclosing to? Really kind of put a positive spin or less positive, but I don't like positivity. I like logical, rational proactivity. Use your situations as a way to figure out how to get the most out of it and not always the negative, gloomy side, which won't serve you long term. So think about that, think about the worst possible scenario. If I have 20 outbreaks, am I going to die? Maybe not. It's probably not going to be fun, but looking at that and fearing potential frequent outbreaks is not going to serve me. I can just kind of be oh, I'm having frequent outbreaks. Maybe there's something wrong with my lifestyle. Let's fix my lifestyle. So next one is going to be basically loving that this happened to you. And I know this is not going to be easy. Oh my God, why would I love that I got herpes? And for me, if you don't know my story, I had erectile dysfunction for most of my life. Tried to get rid of that, tried to help lifestyle factors to fix my ED, used my herpes diagnosis as a motivator for positive change so I could rid my addiction to internet videos and resensitize here and resensitize there. Actually made my resensitization video right there. Interesting turn of events, full circle. But anyways, yeah, I spun my herpes diagnosis into a way to make my life better. So maybe you can't relate, or maybe some of you can find a different way, but my life may have been worse had I not gotten herpes. I'd love to cure my herpes and get rid of it at this point, just for fun and just for everyone out there to have a cure. But to say that my life was worse before would be partially true. Try that and see if you guys can find a way to spin it into positive or spin it into a proactive good thing. And then the last one is basically going to be remembering that you're going to die. We're basically all spinning on an not imaginary, but we're spinning on a rock, and we made up money. We made up time. We just made an entire nonsensical game. It's basically a board game, and 16 people control the entire board game. They made up a herpes stigma. They made up money. They control us, but we're just playing the game here. We're just pawns. Irrelevant to my whole point. But just remember that you're going to die someday. Time is not renewable. If you want to be single forever, never date. If you potentially don't want to be single forever, date, disclose, risk rejection, but potentially get acceptance. And just remembering that don't let this completely control your life, and that it's okay that you feel the way you do, if it's negative or if it's gloomy or if it's hopeless, but just remember that you are in control of this. Use some of the principles I just said. We can't control someone else's opinion of us. We can control our reaction to it. Everything sort of goes hand in hand. Education, you understand the virus. Don't let yourself go. You build up your self-worth. Stay social. You're still dating. I don't know what the fourth one was. I forget. It's, that was don't let yourself. Think about the stigma. Critically think. Realize the stigma doesn't make sense if more than half the people with oral herpes aren't viewed the same. Realize that sex is going to be taboo based on religion or based on upbringing or based on culture. And we're not going to stop having sex, and we're not going to get rid of that stigma. So if someone's going to judge you for getting herpes through sex, it's kind of hypocritical when all of our life revolves around sex. And then from there, basically just apply those Stoic principles. So you basically get to a point where like you're educated, you're confident, you're your best self, you understand that stigmas are within our control to either accept or reject. And then basically you just meet people, and if you align in terms of those particular things, or they still like you regardless of the lack of alignment, then you live your best life. Because for me, I'd be more attracted to somebody who's able to critically think and be like, well, that whole thing about the psychedelics. So like you're saying is like they banned psychedelics because they didn't want you to go to war. But now the people that went to war and are having mental health issues, they're giving psychedelics to? The government's messed up. Exactly. Open your mind, people, whether it's right now or whether it's in 10 years, but open your mind, folks, and just think about some stuff. So that's the 5. Basically, those are the things I did to get over my herpes diagnosis, education, and self-worth. And you heard them all, okay? And I hope that these are going to be beneficial for you guys, because this is really like what you can do. None of these things are out of your control. And I hope that maybe anything I've said has been like, oh, let's try that. Because we only need like one of those little light bulb things to get us started on the path. That's all. Love you, miss you, hope you're doing well. Hope this wasn't too long. If you watch to the end, leave me a comment saying Scooby Dooby Doo, and I'll heart it, or I'll like it, or I'll do something. Maybe I'll comment back Dooby Dooby Scoo. Okay, the camera cut off for some reason, but anyways, it doesn't really matter. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. And if any of the 5 things you saw piqued an interest for you, or you want to learn more, the first link in the description is going to have a link to my entire video guide where I actually go more in depth on all of those sections, whether it's like information about the stigma or about the actual herpes viruses, or dating, social, lifestyle, and then an entire section on physical fitness. Everyone that's, opted into this video guide has got tremendous benefit out of it. Some of them have rid that internal shame they've had for years. People have been disclosing with confidence. People are benefiting. People are getting their life back on track. So first link in the description. Hope to see you guys there. Looking forward to you implementing these tools, and hope you have a good day. Love you. Miss you. Hope you're doing well. See you in the next video.